And welcome to NFL Coast to Coast. I am Joe Pietaro, being joined on the other side of the United States by Dave Gois, a.k.a. Camerica Muscle, MuscleSport Mag columnist, and of course host of Superhero Strong. Dave, what's going on, bro?
What's going on, Joe?
Football, baby.
I'm so excited.
I cannot wait. Obviously, we still have a little ways to go before training camps and two-a-days go on. But there is still also a lot of things going on in the football world. But I guess just to do a quick kind of like recap, you're a Raiders fan, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I'm a Jet fan. So we're not fans of anybody when we do this show, though.
Oh, fuck everybody.
Fuck, they're all starting at zero, right? And they got to earn any respect they get. So it looks like you're going to have some respect, and I'm going to have the number one pick, hopefully, but at the end of the season. But I want to just touch base a little bit. You live in Southern California, right? By way of Massachusetts.
Yeah, by Boston.
You're a Raiders fan, but you had told me that you are happy about the move to Las Vegas, which I found very intriguing because you're closer to Oakland, or would you be closer to Vegas? How does that work?
Honestly, I'm actually closer to Vegas because I live in the Los Angeles area. So from my house to Vegas is about a 4.5 hour drive. Compared to if I was to drive to Oakland, it would take me about 8.5 hours.
Really? Okay. See,
Yeah, because it's up north and I'm down here, down south.
And I've done that drive before from LA to Vegas. It's pretty cool. Many times I've done that ride.
I'm waiting to do that still myself. Looking forward to that.
But that I guess that would be a very to me. I looked at it as the Oakland Raiders, obviously with the black hole, have one of the best home field advantages in the NFL, regardless if the Coliseum is a piece of shit or not. I'm just talking about crowd-wise and the intimidation factor with the fans, how they treat the opposition. Do you think that they're going to lose a lot of that by going to Vegas?
No, and this is where it's funny about being from Boston and living in California. When I first moved here, I was in awe because it was like Raiders fans everywhere. Back home, it's not like that. You'd find like a handful of us, and they're real. And back then, we weren't having a winning season. So if you seen somebody repping the Raiders, they were a true fan.
Yeah.
Over here, there's Raiders everywhere. But to answer your question, I think even being in Vegas, Raider Nation is worldwide. There's going to be a ton of diehard fans over there. So right now we're going through a little bitch fest, like I call it. Like, the city fans are having their twats up in arms about them moving out of Oakland. This is the God honest truth, and this is just the way I see it. A lot of them are ass hurt because they're leaving Oakland. They don't want to leave Oakland. The city just didn't help them with the new stadium. I don't blame them. I mean, go. You're better off go someplace that's going to respect you because the city just isn't respecting the team. So I don't feel bad. But as far as the intimidation factors, bar none, they're still the Raiders. You're going to have to go play in a black hole, whether it's in Vegas or whether it's in Oakland. They're going to be a tough team to beat because, we are asshole fans.
Definitely, I love watching games on TV from Oakland, and you see the crowd, and it's like Halloween, obviously, 8 days a year for game day. But I don't remember now. Did you live in LA when they were in LA, or did you live out east back then?
No, I moved to LA October 2008, so they were already back in Oakland by then.
See, I don't recall. I remember now. Oakland, the LA Coliseum is a huge place, and it's not the greatest place in the world to play. It's very outdated. I don't remember how different the black hole type of scenario was when they played at the LA Coliseum, but I do remember it was pretty much similar to how it was in Oakland. I just don't know how that's going to transcend to a place like Nevada where most of your fans are going to be transient, transplant people, a lot of corporate people. I don't think you're going to get your nuts and bolts lunch pail type of guys. I hope they don't outprice themselves by getting those die-hard Darth Vader wearing mask guys, because that would be a shame if those guys got replaced by polo shirts and.
I don't see that happening. A lot of the diehard fans you're talking about, the ones like the Darth Vaders and Granny just passed away 2 days ago, may she rest in peace. But a lot of the diehard fans are from here in LA, and they do drive and take the trip or fly to Oakland.
Okay.
So for them not being in Oakland, there is granted a lot of Oakland diehard fans too. I'm not going to take anything away from them, but there's a lot here in LA, and I'm sure they're going to be more than happier doing a 4-hour trip than they are a 9-hour trip.
Yeah, and Oakland's not the greatest place to go visit either. So I mean, it's like,
No, and I feel bad for that city because they take a lot of pride in the Oakland Raiders, you know, and that was the one good thing about. You've been to Oakland, you said, right?
No, I've never been to Oakland.
It's a shithole.
Yes.
I'm just going to say for a city, it's a shithole. But they do respect and they take a lot of pride in the Raiders. You know, it sucks for the city. I personally as a Raider fan, wish they did work out something in Oakland, even though it's farther for me. But it doesn't work out as long as they have a new home, which they rightfully deserve.
Yeah.
So be it. The place it was trash.
Yeah, I mean, it's the last multi-purpose stadium in sports. I mean, that used to be very common in the 60s and 70s. I mean, the Jets played at Shea Stadium where the Mets played. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. You can just go up and down the line. Miami. A lot of these places, well, they call them multi-purpose, where football was played in the winter and fall and baseball in the summer, and if they made the playoff, the fall. But that was also is a big disadvantage for scheduling-wise also. And then the baseball-only stadiums like Camden Yards started to pop up, and that became like the big important thing where they wanted to have that retro look. So now football had their own stadiums by default, if you will, and then they got outdated and they started building their own ones also. But it's very weird how Oakland is the last one in the league to still house both the Athletics and the Raiders. So I guess it's about time that they pass the torch on that one.
Do you think that's an Al Davis thing because the NFL had so much problems with Al Davis?
What, you mean like a punishment thing where they didn't want to a new stadium?
Yeah, like a punishment thing. Plus not performing well too. I'll give it to them. They weren't performing well for this is like 2002 when they made the Super Bowl. After that, it was downhill. Yeah,
but for the most part, that's been a very winning organization going back to the AFL days. I mean, some of the greatest names in the Assassin, the Snake, are Oakland Raider names. I mean, Madden. So I mean, you have such a great history with that team from its inception in the 60s as part of the American Football League, that even though Davis did give them a lot of lip and he was a tough owner to deal with, I think for the most part the league was making money because of teams like the Oakland Raiders, because of revenue and ratings and things like that. So maybe other owners were pissed off a little bit. Maybe Rozelle was pissed off sometimes, or Uberoth going back then. But I don't think they would hold them up from opening a stadium. I think that more has to do with the place where the team plays. It's a lot of tax money that has to go for this. So, I think that it's a love-hate relationship with a team like the Raiders, where they were a pain in the ass in many facets, but they were also a money-making team because of just they've even when they were bad, they had a great fan base. So that's tough to do as a team when you're not winning and you're not playing in a good stadium and it's not a good part of the town where you're playing in, but you're still drawing and you're still Monday Night Football ratings are great because you are that team. So that's something that team can hang their helmet on, if you will, of always being a mainstay of the league. I mean, they could have the shittiest season. It could be the worst season, even let's say it's. But Wild West, man, you got a Raiders, Chargers, Raiders, Chiefs, Broncos, Chiefs. Those fucking games are great, no matter how bad those teams are doing. So
very, very tough division.
Yeah,
and that again shows you how much how good those fans are in Oakland. That's what I feel bad for about the whole move, is because those loyal ones really are getting fucked out of the deal.
Yeah, they are, but. My biggest fear in having a team in Vegas has nothing to do with the gambling. I give two shits about that. Everybody's gambling on football. You don't need a team in Vegas. It doesn't mean shit. And they just said that New Jersey might get passed for sports gaming right now. They're trying to get legalization for that. I heard that yesterday on XM on one of the sports channels. But as far as my biggest fear in Vegas is that it's even for a team like the Raiders with a great fan base, and it's a nationwide one, it's even worldwide, if you will. I still think that it's a new stadium like that. It's going to be the expense is going to be ridiculous. That it's going to, your regular, mom and pop guys are going to have trouble getting there and affording season tickets. And I think you're going to have a lot of, oh, let's go to the game today type of people, which that's not real football fans.
No, no.
We got that a lot with
I
Giant
definitely-
Stadium.
I can see where you're going with that because I don't know the exact price for season ticket holders for Oakland, but I'm sure that they're more astronomical now that they're going to be in Las Vegas, unless they grandfather them season ticket holders in.
Never do. They move to a new stadium. I've heard, like, we were lucky enough in around 2009 and 2010, we had new Yankee Stadium, Citi Field came, MetLife Stadium. So we had a lot of stadiums built up, the Barclays Center, the Prudential Center for the Devils. So there was so many stadiums that were popping up all throughout the landscape of all 9 major sports teams in New York area that I heard so many people telling stories where their tickets were like $80 at Yankee Stadium, and then the new Yankee Stadium, they got bumped up 2 levels and it was like quadrupled, for the face value. So it was like, you never get grandfathered in. And then you got to buy PSLs, which to me is the biggest joke in the world.
Yeah.
So I personally was on the Jets waiting list at Giant Stadium from, I don't know, somewhere in the late 80s. And I finally got it somewhere around 2000. It was like over 10 years. And they said, congratulations, your number has been chosen. You finally made it and you got season tickets. And it was like ridiculous amount. And this is at the old stadium, not even the new one. And at that point, when I signed up, I was single. At that point, I had 2 kids and a mortgage.
Yeah.
I threw the
no.
fucking thing out. I said, fuck this. I don't want to I ain't driving 3 hours to Jersey every day. I lived in Brooklyn when I signed up. It was an easier ride. So
Yeah.
I just tossed that bitch in the mail. I said, fuck that. I'll watch it on TV.
You know what's crazy is you live like so close to Jersey, and yet it still takes 3 hours to get to that stadium.
It is the way there, right? Now, if I cover a game for a 1 o'clock game, I leave my house at 9 a.m. But I get there very early. I like getting there by, I don't know, even before noon. I want to be in my press box seat before noon. I want to have my fucking food. I want my fucking coffee. They feed us very well. The NFL is the best as far as feeding the writers and shit like that. So I leave really early to get there really early. But let's say the game ends at 4:20 or so, let's say, right, for a 1 o'clock kickoff. You go down, you do the locker room, you do the post game, all of that shit. So sometimes you don't get in your car until, I don't know, 5-ish, 5:30 even. I will listen to the whole 4 o'clock game on the ride home. If the Giants are playing somewhere and they're at 4 o'clock, if they're out, playing in, fucking wherever, out west, and there's a 4 o'clock start, they're playing the Seahawks or something, I can listen to the whole fucking Giant game and still not be home. That's how long it takes me to get home. The traffic.
And I would still rather take New York traffic than LA traffic.
I won't argue with you because I've been to LA a number of times and it is bad, bro.
Yeah, it sucks, man. It sucks. And God forbid if it rains.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Breaks. But the thing with the fucking, the Jets, the Giants, I still call it Giant Stadium. It ain't fucking MetLife Stadium. To get out of there, even hours after the game, people, because they hang out and they drink and shit. So now it's still a crawl getting out of that fucking lot. And they put you out a certain way where you get this bad entrance to the highway. And it's like, it's a fucking horror show. And I say to myself, is it worth it for me to go to a game? My whole day is shot for one fucking game. And usually they play like shit because they're the Jets. It's a fucking bad game. And you don't get great interviews because the guys are all pissed. So it's like, I just sit home.
Now, you've been to many stadiums.
Yeah.
What's the best stadium that you've been to traveling wise, like getting in and out during game time?
I gotta think about that. That's a good one. Because I didn't always drive. A lot of times it was like buses, like for the Super Bowl and stuff. We got shuttled. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't have an answer right now. But the worst is probably MetLife Stadium. Yankee Stadium sucks too, getting out of there, getting on the highway. That's a fucking shithole to get out of there. But yeah, I would say that Wrigley Field, because it's right in the city. It's right smack in the middle. I mean, you really can't. You basically walk to we took the subway and we walked to the fucking stadium. We took the L,
Yeah.
train in Chicago, and,
Yeah.
and it's a stop right there, Wrigleyville. So that one is probably an easy one, but I didn't have a car. It was a different situation. But Miami's not bad. It puts you right on the highway. I know the old Foxborough was a pain in the ass. It's a 2-lane highway coming out. I'm sure you were there plenty of times
It's still there
with the bleachers, right? You come
Still
out
there.
and you're on that little 2-lane road, and it's just
Yeah.
it's
Right
hard
in
getting
Fox-
in, it's hard getting out.
Yeah.
I've been to that one, so
It's still built the same exact way because the new stadium they built was right next to the old one.
so it's the same
it's
highway.
the same exact 2-lane that you're talking about right
Yep.
there on Foxborough.
Yeah, Heinz Field was a little tough getting out. That was the AFC Championship game, so that was fucking, and it was fucking cold. So even if you're waiting 5 minutes to get into your car, it was like fucking 20 below. It was a fucking cold. I think it was a 4:00 start, so it was fucking freezing by the time the game ended, man. But yeah, there really is no. It's a pick your poison with these places, man.
I got another question for you while I'm
Yeah.
thinking about it. I love questions, so I know you've been around everywhere. Now that you got the Rams here in LA and San Diego moving, what do you think of the San Diego moving to here with the Rams, sharing a stadium?
I think it's horrible. I think that first of all, the place they're playing at, I believe it's for 2 years. The Home Depot Center. I covered the CrossFit Games in 2013 there. When I worked at Muscular Development, that's a shit place. It's fucking MLS stadiums where the Galaxy play, and it's 30,000 seats. It's not built for NFL football, so I think that's a terrible move. They should have stayed in San Diego for the 2 years if they were going to move to LA. Just like the Raiders are going to wait till the stadium's ready in Vegas. They're not going there and playing in the Las Vegas 51's Mets AAA Farm Team Stadium until the Vegas stadium's ready. They wait until the stadium's ready. So first mistake that they made, the Chargers. To go and be second banana, which the Jets are second banana to the Giants, and the Rams are going to be considered the first banana. And if you're second banana to the Rams, who abandoned that city in the 90s and now came back, you got problems because that team doesn't have a great fan base. The Rams, it's a vagabond team. They were Cleveland Rams originally in the 50s, right? So just like the Cardinals moving all over the country, the Rams but they ended up back where they were at one time, and they had a decent fan base there. But again, that Coliseum is terrible to play in, and they're back in that Coliseum where the Raiders and the Rams played originally. And the Chargers going there, I can tell you as a Jet fan, no matter what they call that stadium or how they try to portray it on your game day, it will always be considered the other team's stadium. So you will never feel like you have a full-fledged home field advantage. Yes, I know Giants Stadium, it was different than this MetLife Stadium, but the Giants were building that stadium anyway, the new Giants Stadium, right? They were going to call it. And the Jets were trying to get in Manhattan on the West Side Rail Yards, and it got turned down by the politicians. And that's when the Jets went up to the Giants, to the Maras and the Tishes. Johnson said, hey, we'll go halfsies with you on the stadium. The Giants were moving there anyway. So to me, it's always going to be a Giants home. So I kind of look at that new Rams Stadium, whatever they're going to call it with these stupid corporate names now. That new Rams Stadium that was being built before the Chargers announced this move. That was being built when the Rams came back from St. Louis last year. So the Chargers are going to be like the Jets. You're going to be that team's little brother forever, stuck in that stadium.
What do you think about the Chargers moving here, keeping the name Chargers? You think, since they've never won a Super Bowl or done anything spectacular, because they really haven't, I don't care what the Chargers fan base have said, they make it good. Philip Rivers is a great quarterback, this, that, and the other. He's got good. He gets there, but, they're never won a Super Bowl, so they can't get to that extra level yet. So what do you think of them switching their name, just starting all over?
I don't know. I want them to keep the Chargers, and I think maybe one thing they can hang on to is they originally were the LA Chargers in '61 when they first were formed in the AFL. So they do have, albeit a very short history in LA, but there is still a history there. I'm not a big fan of changing teams' names. I think when teams have established, especially in NFL, it's kind of different than other sports. I think when a team is established and has a name, like the Oilers They were even the Tennessee Oilers for a couple of years, right? But it didn't make sense because it was, Houston is oil town, right? So it kind of didn't make sense to keep that name, but they could have, just like the Utah Jazz was the New Orleans Jazz in the NBA. It makes no sense. There is no Jazz history in Utah. It's fucking salt fucking, mountains.
Yeah.
But they kept the name. I think keeping names is the better of the things, and especially because the move is not that far of a move for the Chargers. They're going from Southern California to staying in Southern California. I think they should keep the name, and they'll just be the LA Chargers like they were in the old days.
Okay. I was curious about that because I've had a couple of conversations with people, and people were like, well, look, since they have really not accomplished much NFL-wise, why not start? It's a new home, new stadium,
turning
new
over
team,
a new leaf.
Just start it all fresh.
Yeah. I mean, you could do that. They got cool uniforms and a cool logo, too. So I'd like to see them keep that. Maybe they may adjust. I know they have that new logo a little bit, and I think they're going maybe a little darker like they used to wear, like in the Dan Fouts era. But I like the Chargers. I think that's a cool name. I think it's a cool look. And LA Chargers doesn't sound that bad. It's not like. Do
you like that little motto, bolt up?
I don't know. These sports sayings are kind of like,
It just reminds me of the Wonder Twin powers on the Super Friends, Super Friends powers unite. It's like, bolt up.
The Jets have a saying, play like a Jet. Now, I don't know what the fuck that means when you lose a lot of games, play like shit.
Now I don't think you want to be stuck with that, play like a Jet.
You're going to win one game this year. I don't think you definitely don't want that. But, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there was no team in L.A. for so many years. And everybody they kept saying the NFL has to get back there. It's the second biggest media market after New York. And, obviously it makes sense. But now you have two teams in L.A. And I don't know if L.A. even wanted either one of them back.
Yeah, I don't think
it's
so.
Weird. I think an expansion team, they're not speaking about expansion, but I think that would have been the best bet for that L.A. market is to leave the teams where they were and have an expansion. But that's a whole nother, animal. It's in itself. I mean, the last expansion team was the Texans, so I mean, it's been quite a while now. But I think the NFL is definitely ripe for expansion. I think it's one of the only leagues that can really support these type of teams. I think playing once a week is a big difference than playing 5, 6, 7 times a week like baseball sometimes does. But we definitely on a future episode. I don't want to get into it now, but we will definitely talk on a future episode of international locations for football. I have very strong feelings about this, and I was listening to NFL radio the other day, and they were talking about London supporting a full-time team, and I think it is a terrible idea. Yeah. But that will be a future topic for a future show. Just wanted to touch base, just do a little pilot, a little test pilot here. So, Dave, I think this is going to be a fucking good one, bro.
I like this. I enjoy it.
We both
nice
have
and easy.
This is a lot easier than bodybuilding to talk about.
Football, you can go wrong.
Football is a 12-month-a-year sport, so we will be talking about it 12 months a year. But
exactly,
we're going to cut this one short just for test purposes. And I don't know, we might show this one online. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll just redo what we were talking about when we officially kick this thing off. But it is called NFL Coast to Coast because I'm in New York, Dave's in LA, and it's NFL Coast to Coast. Exactly.
There you go. Now we just got to come up with a witty little catchphrase at the end of it.
2 guys with 14-inch cocks.
As long as it's in two guys in one cup.
No. We'll see you on the next episode of NFL Coast to Coast.